I'm Shomer Shabbat. That means that I try to keep all of the laws of Shabbat. Now imagine, I'm Shomer Shabbat, but I invite my friend over who has never seen Shabbat in her life. And she's going to look at all the things that I do and she's going to wonder, why is it that I could do some things and other things I can't do? What is the logic behind Shabbat? Well, what I'm going to try and do for you in the next couple minutes is I'm going to try and make Shabbat simple. I'm going to try and explain the whole idea, the whole concept of Shabbat in about 5 minutes. But I got to warn you, all of this is a simple introduction. This is an introduction. I cannot explain all of the laws of Shabbat, probably in 5 years, let alone 5 minutes. But what I can tell you is that it does make sense. It's a very simple concept, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that concept. Simple words, simple ideas, Shabbat made simple. Okay, so here's the part that everybody knows, right? Everybody knows that you cannot work on Shabbat. Well, that leads me to a very simple question. If I'm not allowed to work on Shabbat, then why can't I put on a light switch? Why can't I use a computer? I don't know about you, but flicking on a light switch does not seem like work. And computer, I could spend all day on computer. I love computers. That means to say that working on a computer isn't even work, let alone playing on a computer. So what's the deal? And of course, why can't I drive? Now, I live about 1.5 miles from my synagogue. I live in Miami. Think about it. Driving to synagogue, 5 minutes, air conditioning, beautiful, easy, wonderful. Walking to synagogue, 1 hour, boiling hot, get there sweaty. You tell me, which is work, walking or driving? And how about this one? Not that I would do it, but if I were to lift up a couch that weighs 300 pounds, walk around my house for 2 hours, that's fine. But if I pick up one little feather, walk outside, and I put it down, oh, there I worked. Come on, do me a favor. That's not called working. Explain that one to me. And finally, maybe you can't work, but I'm a rabbi. If I don't work on Shabbat, I'm going to lose my job. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that anybody work on Shabbat, but we've got to have a better explanation. Let's take it back to the beginning. God created the world in 6 days, and we know that on the 7th day he rested, and that's why we keep Shabbat. But what did he rest from? Think about it. Did God work hard to create the world? Well, if you read the Bible, you'll see very clearly it says simply, and God said, let there be light. And God said, let there be whatever he wanted there to be. I don't know about you, for me, speaking comes naturally. It's easy. It's easy to speak. So what exactly was it that God was resting from? You got it? God was resting from creating. 6 days he created, and on the 7th day he stopped creating. And therefore, 6 days we create, and on the 7th day we stop creating. So we're going to have to get rid of that sentence right there, and instead we're going to replace it with this sentence. Now that's a great sentence, makes a lot more sense. Well, if you look at the Bible itself, when it describes what we're not supposed to do, it says, Lo ta'aseh melacha, do not do any melacha, means a creative action. Well, that leads us to the next question. What exactly is creating? Well, let's think about this for a moment. We know that God created the world, but what can we create? Do we actually create? Do we actually make something from nothing? I don't think so. What we do is we take God's creations. It could be a lump of clay, it could be a piece of silver, it could be a combination of many things that we find in nature. We use our own ingenuity. We look at it, we recognize that these things that are found in nature can be used however it is that we want to use it. That's called human ingenuity. And then, of course, we act on that ingenuity. We put that all together. Bottom line, we come up with human creations. So we take what God has already created, we transform it to become whatever it is that we want it to be, whether it's something beautiful or something useful, and that is a human creation. Using this definition, all people are creative. It's not just the artists or the designers or the decorators. Using this definition, we take God's creation and we transform those necessities for what we need. What are our basic human needs? You know them. Number one, of course, is food, my favorite. Number two, of course, is clothing, my children's favorite. And number three is shelter, my brother, the designer's favorite. These three are the basic human necessities. What we are not allowed to do on Shabbat are 39 very specific processes that go from God's creation, use our ingenuity and our action, and turn them into human creations. Specifically creating food, specifically creating clothing, and specifically creating shelter. Bottom line, we may not take God's creation and transform it for our use.